Hello and welcome to Activating Magic. I'm Darla LeDoux. I'm your host, and I'm so excited to share with you my good friend Nikko Bivens. Hi, Nikko.
Hi, Darla. Good to see you.
Thanks for saying yes to doing this. And as we know, when we talk, we don't know where it's going to go. So buckle up, everybody. This should be a good conversation. Let me tell you a little bit about Nikko and a little background on our connection, and then we'll dive in. So, Nikko has been creating, connecting, and communicating with web technologies for over 25 years. So, like, I'm a recovering engineer. Nikko is recovering IT, but not really
hmm
recovering.
It's
Magical
different now.
IT.
It's very different now. Yes, magical IT.
There's not a web technology she can't understand and know how to best use to meet your business goals. Technology is not just about computers and coding, it is about connections. Everything that you create together with your clients, Nikko, will better connect people with their audiences and the people they love. So, we're going to talk a lot about your gift. You say it's about finding your energetic spark or the
Mhm.
unique energy that only you can bring online. And then you build people's logo and brand and corner of the internet around that. There's the tech piece, and then there's the making things beautiful piece. And then I would say the third piece is magic and, energetic alignment. Not a lot of people have all three. And in my journey, I know people have hired me because I have the engineering background and can kind of be left brained, but I also really understand energy. So you've got kind of this triangle of tech, beauty, and magic that you help your clients with. Your bio says you do this work because you believe it's your life purpose to assist others in sharing their gifts with the world. And that when people's energy is clear and their vibe is high, the technology that runs their empire will perform seamlessly and the passion and purpose will shine through. I'm sure people are super curious to hear how magic and technology go together. So, Nikko, what would you like to say first to be known?
Oh my gosh. I loved how you put it in terms of the triangle, the triad of, and that all three of those things, I'm bringing all three of those things to help you be your most visible. And so ultimately that's my goal is that you're visible to the world in the highest way possible and that there's a fluidity to work with it and evolve with you.
So, our background together, Nikko is a certified source leader, so has been through my training program that I developed. And then I hired Nikko to upgrade my website. And maybe we'll talk a little about that process at some point today. And so we've both hired one another and we're now exploring how we collaborate together. Nikko, I feel like because you're so focused on your clients or other people and like reading the energy that you don't talk about yourself a lot. And so I just want to challenge you to share a little bit about your journey and like how did you choose this particular field?
I love
And I
that.
know
Thank
this
you.
field could be defined a lot of ways.
Yeah. One, thank you for noticing and reflecting that back to me. Yeah, I do spend a lot of time listening to other people and helping bring their journey out. And so for me, in my journey, it's been my whole life. Like there's been a lifetime of witnessing. Following the heart was really the guiding point, which is why many people call me the love oracle now. Because the my moving mission from when I was really little was to follow the heart, listen to my heart, listen to that inner guidance, and that the beauty of my life would um, blossom around me, and I would have amazing experiences. And so that was sort of like the base holding me throughout my life. So I'm a very diverse person. I love art and music and technology and humans, all the people and personalities. And so I've been led in through all these different avenues, whether it's sports, martial arts, meditation, different spiritual systems, different technology systems. At some point, someone said to me, because I was like, I don't know why I'm doing all of this. Why is this happening? Like, what is the what is this unifying force? And I got this client that said to me, she grabs me by the shoulders and she says to me, "You are here for people like me." And I was like, oh, because she was very much in the magical realms, right? And she
Mm.
couldn't navigate all of this technology and how to have herself be seen. And so it was like, oh, there I am. This is me. Like, yes, I'm here to help
Mm.
not only myself be seen, but everyone else be seen that doesn't have access to, they may have access to source, but they don't have access to the technology or the understanding of how to use the
Yeah.
technology. Yeah, it's felt like every aspect of my life has led me here.
I'm guessing people can relate to making some choices and going, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yes,
What does this have to do with anything?
yes.
And gosh, I'm thinking, trying to think of examples. I took a yoga teacher training in London once, totally just a gut feel. Like I heard the offer and I was like, I have to go there. And I had no idea why. I did not intend to teach yoga, at all. I just, I knew there was some part of me that knew being embodied is important, right? This was quite a while ago. And I was working with clients who did all kinds of things. And anyone who was doing embodiment work, I would always get this feel of like, that's the future. Like all of this heady stuff. Like I was trained in heady mindset, coaching.
Yeah.
And anyone who was doing embodiment stuff, I was like, that's where it's at. And so, I didn't know why I was going or what I was going to get. And was just a yes. And now I use my body and my sensation magic all the time in my work, but it didn't seem like it had a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I did a yoga teacher training as well. It's
Nice.
like my massage training, Thai massage training, like yes, all these random things that seem disconnected. But at some point when I'm working, it's all of those things that I did help me see a client in a varied ways because I'm working with yoga teachers. I'm working with energy workers. I'm working
Yeah.
with authors. I'm working with all these different people. And it's like, oh, no wonder I had to be in their world. I had to learn their world.
At first, I'm thinking, bless this client who, took you and looked you in the eyes and said, this is it. Um, so what happened from there? Like, was it easy for you to say, this is it, and to narrow and focus? Or are you like most people who like can't let it go and or are kind of nervous about saying, hey, I do this? Like, did you have any of that?
There was definitely a transition. And I still feel like I'm transitioning, honestly, y'all. Like, um, there was definitely a journey to it because I had to embrace that I had all these skills. Like there was something in me that was still resistant to that I had all the skills that I actually had. Because that's not generally what I've seen in the world. What I've seen in the world is people specialize. They have their one
Yeah.
thing that they find that they love. And maybe they do that one thing for a while and then they let it go and do something else that's another one thing they love. Um, and for me, I had this whole different journey that was multifaceted. And so it took me a while to incorporate it all. It took me a while, like I worked in IT, I worked, but the interesting thing was my job at the time, that happened like soon after that, actually, a few months after her saying that. I
Mm.
get this job with a nonprofit and I'm in IT, but I'm also in the web. So I'm like, it's that bridge between IT work that's all technical. and being in the web and building websites, building this web world. And a third part of my job was to basically unite people from different ideologies, right? So we had nonprofit ideas and we had corporate ideas. And so I was brought in to be this like bridge between these two worlds.
Mm.
So it was the first time I was brought in that way too, where I'm bridging two worlds. And it's only now in this conversation I look back and I was like, wow, that was setting the stage for what's happening now because I'm helping people bridge their world um, with their private dream into the greater world at a whole so that they can be seen.
Why is it important to you that people like me or like us who's listening get seen?
Mm. Yeah, because I figure like for those like us, the world needs us right now. We're in a huge transition point. The corporate mindset and the me and money at all costs, even cost of human life. We're in a massive need for change from that energetic, that belief structure to something that's more integrated with the heart and allowing the heart to come through. That's considering the human, all these amazing people that have to come together to even make somebody successful, right? Like it's
Mm.
like I would love to see our people, like the magicals and the energy workers and the and those that are connected to source in their unique ways, um, be just as successful as a corporation.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's going to have a greater impact on the overall health of humanity.
Yeah, I think you know this, Nikko. I was doing engineering for Sunny Delight, right, within Procter and
Yeah.
Gamble. That was my brand. And, we literally called it flavored colored sugar water with a pretty label. And of course, I worked on packaging. So, I was biased. My department was biased. But really, some of the things I worked on to make this juice be able to be out of the refrigerator section, right? Like having the
Mm,
plastic be a barrier to oxygen. So you could put this juice on the end of the aisle where it was cheaper and people could see it and they could buy it and they did all of that. And some of the things I did, I'm like, that's so gross. I drank this, toxic water. But it seemed like a good idea at the time. But there was always this little part of me. I didn't have any awareness of like physical health,
mhm.
really. But there was this part of me that was like, this is weird that we're doing this. So yes, and so the reason I brought it up though is you said, having people like us make as much money as corporations. And that's kind of my benchmark is, you
Mhm.
know, $400 million of Sunny Delight is sold a year still.
Wow.
If people could take that benchmark of like, what I do is more valuable to the planet than Sunny Delight, not to pick on that particular
Particular.
brand, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, amazing. Like that's a huge opener right there. That what we do and anyone listening, what you do is more valuable than what Sunny Delight is doing. And you deserve to make just as much money as Sunny Delight. And imagine what you could do with that.
let's talk about your magic. And
Mm,
is it okay if I talk a little bit, share with people things that you might not think to share?
please do, because I don't think to share them.
Well, because I think
Yes,
it's,
please do.
for me, the intention of this podcast is to help people who are like, I think I'm magical. Do I dare talk about it? Can I
Mm,
use it? Is it valuable? Can I charge for it? And even what does that even mean, right? Intuitive, gifted, like you see things that maybe aren't obvious to other people.
mhm.
That's all it means.
Yep.
So, Nikko, what I know about you is like there's a way that you work that just seems obvious to you. You didn't need, well, no one needs more certifications, but you didn't come to certification to learn how to be magical, which is what a lot of people are practicing in the program. You came in, and I would say knowing how to talk about the magic that's so everywhere for you, so the water you swim in, was maybe more challenging. And I feel like even as we worked on my website, there were times where, things came up. I'll say it in my way, and then you can say it in
Mhm.
your way, of like a page maybe has a certain energy, and maybe there's a piece of it that where there's something that's hidden from my view as the business owner that's embedded in the page, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's a way of telling a story, or maybe some way that I'm thinking about this program or this offer that has a little bit of default energy in it, to use our source leader words. And when you're working with it, it's like you perceive that in a certain way and help it to clear. And
Mhm.
there's an aspect that you need to see it and work with it and know it. But I also need to be the person who shifts my energy field. And so, can you talk a little bit about how that process is for you when you're working with a client to help them get visible through their website, their tech, and the beauty and symbolism of the site, and
Mhm.
how transformation is a piece of it, right? How you are picking up the energy and working with the energy.
Yeah, that to me was one of the, it's interesting because I had seen this for years, like it's something I had been watching within my work. But I hadn't been outwardly talking about it. And that was one of the biggest benefits of being in CSL, was I needed to sort out like how to talk about this thing. And what I'm finding is that, so when I work with someone, I will, like, I can even talk about something recently right now. So I'm working with a couple of different people, brand new clients, and like the first thing that comes up are their obstacles, the places where they're afraid, the places where background noise that's going on in their frequency, or in their system. Use whatever language fits you right now. And so I will see it, like I'll feel it even as an empath. Like I will start to feel these things. There's sometimes things will happen. I'm like, whoa, is this me? Like, is this mine? So I have to do a little sorting to make sure, like, oh no, that's right. I started working with this client. It's this client's energy,
Mhm.
and this is the water they're swimming in. This
Ooh,
is the
do you
vibration.
question?
Yes, please, please, please. Yes,
Because this I just feel like people need to hear this.
yes,
When you enter into a container, if you're not like thinking about it, which by the way, I sometimes don't think about it, and then all of a sudden I'm physically feeling what that client's feeling.
yes.
And they've never thought to tell me, and I've never thought to ask. If we're so unconscious of this generally as a society, right, then we're walking around with all of this muddled energy that's not ours. And I think people who are coaches, who are maybe mindset coaches, and they've come in through that more heady world, may not have that awareness. And now I know, and even I don't do a lot of sales calls anymore, but when I used to, my recognition magic would let me know who was coming. So maybe
Mm,
it was a word, and I would see the word, and I would see the word, and I would see the word, right? 3 times, and it would jump out from a screen or a page, and then I'd be on the call with the person, and that word would come up. And I'm like, okay, they're my person. And I don't
right.
need to overthink it, or it's like, oh, there they are. And so it even starts before the container when source is sending the person to you. So I feel
Yes,
like that's like gold for people to understand and really be aware of. So keep going.
I do too. So thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I start to swim in the water they're swimming in. Is what happens. And so at that point, it's this journey to go, okay, well, how do I, because sometimes I can't see where what their brand is until I swim in this water. It's like it's like we have to clear this
Mhm.
muddy water a little bit, right? Like I'm not ever looking for like crystal clear, because that's, to me, that's a perfectionist thing. That's just, we have enough perfectionism going on in our world. It's like clear just enough so that I can see where your brand really wants to be and where you really want to be. And so there's so many ways I do that. So one, it's energetic, just using all of my um, abilities to sense and see and feel and hear all the things. But then I also dream at night. And so I will get visions at night for how the person's what's in the way, and what they need to clear. Because and then sometimes, then once things are clear enough, then I'll get what the brand is. So the brand will start coming through in my waking world, in my dreaming world, like it'll come through in all aspects. And so, but I'm in communication. So ideally, the most ideal situation is that I'm in communication and with client, and we're talking about their dreams, and we're talking about what's coming up. And in order to help facilitate those energies, those heavy energies, the muddied waters clearing.
I
And
have
sometimes, I just want to say one thing about this. So sometimes what that means is like, I will visually create a web page for them that is literally their muddied energy. It's like this is what's in the way. Let's talk about this.
you
Let's
definitely did
allow
that
this.
with me.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah. How was
having
that?
moments of like, hmm, okay, I don't like this. I'm not sure why. I don't know what to say. I'm
Mhm.
surprised that, you know, she sent this. And then you're like, yeah, exactly. Like when I say you're like, exactly. So
Yes.
yeah, it's interesting because I think, you work such in visuals and energetics that for you, that's how you communicate.
Mhm.
Like you've said to me about one of our ideas, like, let me just make it. And so you can
Mhm.
see it
Yeah.
versus having words to walk you through it. Let me just make it. And then you can see it and respond to it. So there's this aspect of that you're holding with people as you're working with them.
Yeah, and that really came about because watching over the years, where I would see something, like I would just automatically see it, and I would try to communicate it, and other people couldn't see what I saw. It didn't matter how clear I used words. It's still, they couldn't quite visualize it.
Mm.
And so that's why now I'm like, let me create it. Let me
Yeah.
actually create the visuals so that it's easier for our communication. And I think it works really well.
Have you ever had someone receive a muddied page that reflects their energy and then run away?
Not run away totally, no.
Like, oh no, this
I've
isn't going to
definitely,
work.
yeah. No, I haven't ever had that. No.
Okay.
No, usually
It's
when people show up for me to show up to work with me, like they're ready to show up. So I've had people like in the pre-conversation, be like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." But when people seem very committed, and even when I look back over the years when I hadn't gotten to doing the work in the way that I am right now, um, people who showed up were committed in a way that, like, there was just something in the way the universe was working, that I got really aligned
magic.
people at each stage of my development. Like I
Yes.
was so like clear of watching my development in this, and all the appropriate people showed up. Yeah.
Love how that works, right?
Me too. I totally love it. But I have had people be afraid. So it's natural to be afraid when you
Yeah.
see the muddied, like, because, we're talking blind spots here. And blind
Yeah.
blind spots are, you can't see them. You can't see them. You don't, there's no way for you to see them. And
Mhm.
so I'm, in the gentlest way possible, attempting to awaken the blind spot in you so that you can see it and you can decide, well, is this really something that needs to be transformed, or is it a value add? because
Yeah.
sometimes blind spots can be a value add. They're not always something
Mm.
that needs to be removed.
I love it. I'm just thinking of in my upcoming Activate Your Magic retreat, we're going to be literally creating a visual representation of what's in the blind spot. So I got real excited about that.
I love it. Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned dreaming, and this
Mhm.
is something you work with, you teach. Anything you want to share about dreaming and how your dream magic works? Because maybe there are people here who have it and they don't know they have it or they haven't honed it. By the way, dream
Yeah.
magic isn't one of the magics in my quiz, but if you were to say which one would it be most closely related to?
Dreaming actually can use all of your magics that are
Okay.
within the source quiz would apply. So because I'll use whatever is the person's primary sourced magic. So if they're a recognition magician, then I'll use that
Mm,
ability to that'll pop in the dream.
interesting. Yeah,
Uh,
you've said that before. It's like basically how you are when you're awake.
Yeah, yeah. How you dream is how you are when you're awake, which is what makes it so beneficial for transformation because it's interesting. Our consciousness, the depth of our consciousness wants us to awaken. The
Mm,
depth of our consciousness wants us to live our greatest purpose in life. And so imagine this part of you is deep in there all the time, working for your benefit,
mm,
working to like help you overcome your fears so that you can show up in the world. It's quite
mm,
amazing. So it's why I love dreaming because it starts to help us. It's another way in a gentle way to start to see the things that are hidden from our waking view.
yeah.
And because sometimes it's easier to look at a dream than it is to necessarily look at real life. So there's that piece. So it's a nice
Yeah.
bridge in terms of that.
Just so people have a sense if they were to work with you, how it shows up for you, and I don't often remember my dreams. And so when I do, I know it's
Mm,
significant. And I definitely work with it when I do remember. But you'll often say, like, oh yeah, we were together in dreamland last night. How are you feeling? And I'm like, I slept like a baby. I don't know. Like, well, what did we do? I'm sorry I missed it. So I don't always remember, but you're having these experiences. And when a client comes in, you'll sometimes say, oh, I've been dreaming with them for years. Anything you want to say about that? Or if someone has that gift, what advice you'd give them? Maybe that's the best question.
if somebody has that gift, what advice would I give them? It's interesting. There's a couple of things because like right now I'm helping somebody who does have that gift, but it went dormant. And
Hmm.
so now I'm supporting them in waking it back up and being more in the forefront again, like it used to be. So there's that piece. You could have the gift and it's just gone asleep for a little bit due to life circumstances. There's all kinds of reasons it could go dormant. And so I help wake that back up. And I definitely suggest anyone that it's gone dormant, you want to wake it back up. But like be willing, find someone like me to help you, support you in waking that up. So I believe everybody can dream. Whether you remember your dreams or not, I believe everybody can be a dreamer. So if you're not somebody who dreams, I want to plant that seed that I believe you're a dreamer. Okay. Because everything in this world is created based on a dream. At some point you dreamed something and you brought it into the world. And then the other piece of this, if you are already a dreamer and you know it, it's important to keep honing the dreaming skills. So for us dreamers, it's really important for us to know our own blind spots and know where, because at some point we have to be able to sort whether a dream is for us or somebody else. And so making sure you do the work to be very clear about that, what dreams are for you and what dreams are for other people,
Hmm.
because that's where a dreamer could get muddied.
Right. Yeah, I was interviewing someone earlier and we were talking about, how do you decide? She brought up she helps people with their writing and she'll get information, but she's very clear to check if it's to be shared or not. So how do you decide or how do you work with something and get to the bottom of, is this mine? Is this someone else's? Are they ready to receive it? Does it matter? How do you approach that?
So I spend time with it. So when I see the dreams coming in, if I know I have things going on in my personal life, then I will I will spend some time with it and I will sit and sort like, okay, where is my energy? What is my energy doing? What are my thoughts doing? um, if it still feels like there's a uncertain place, like let's say there's some clarity on this side, but down the middle that's kind of blurry, then I will sit with it and really look at how I feel. Like I'll literally ask myself over and over, how do I
Yeah.
feel? Because I'm a sensation magician as well. Like, and I have sensation and vibration. And so I will sit with that a lot. How do I feel?
Mhm.
How do I feel? And sometimes one of my gifts is being able to express that which others are scared to express within their being.
Mhm.
And so I will sit and express it. So once I determine like it, and through that expressing it, that helps me sort, oh, this is the client's experience.
Mhm.
So historically, I had this rule that I followed where basically anybody coming into my sphere, then they were ready for whatever the
Mhm.
messages were. Like I had this overarching
Yeah.
thing that if they were showing up in my world, then they were ready. It didn't mean that when they got it that they wouldn't run. It just because I I had to, I went through a process of really like getting clear about that it's okay if people hear it and they run because I may be like the messenger for them and that catapults them in their life in a way. So while it may appear like they've ran from me, I've like
You
um,
activated something.
re I activated something. And so really it's them running towards who they're meant to be. It's them running towards, they're not really running away, they're running towards the
Mm.
thing. And I was just
Beautiful.
maybe one of many people, but I started to recognize that was one of the roles
Mm.
was that.
Wow. I want to underline that kind of sourced consciousness, right? Of like,
Mhm.
it's all perfect. Everything is sourced. There's nothing that
Mm.
isn't. Even our default energy is like perfect for our journey. A lot of what happens for people when they start working with clients and they get like really like, first of all, oh my God, someone paid me and I have to keep this money. And oh my goodness, and everybody goes through this rite of passage, right?
Yes.
But there will be people who will leave, or there will
Hmm.
be people who you think, oh my gosh, we're a love match, and they choose to go a different direction or whatever. And you have to keep that in mind that we're not attached. We're just committed to showing up
Hmm.
and serving. And Nikko, I've had people who maybe popped into a free webinar and then years later said, it like messaged me and said, hey, I just want you to know this thing you said changed this for me.
Yeah.
And we don't know. It may not mean anything, or maybe you are reminding them of their mother. And because you remind them of their mother, they're triggered and activated and they're not ready to deal with that. But you're the perfect person to have them go deal with this energy of their mother. And
Yes.
great.
Perfectly said.
Okay, so as I just was saying that, Nikko, mother energy made me think of our conversation that we have running right now about masculine and feminine energy and branding. So I'm
Mm.
going to kind of take a hard left here. Are you open to
Cool.
that?
I'm totally open to
Just
that.
because I'm curious. We have a few minutes. Let's see what wants to show
Yeah.
up. As you know, in my own journey, I've been kind of, in this pendulum swing, I'll call it, around my masculine and feminine energy. And I've really had a sense, and I've had different intuitives tell me, and it's in my astrology and all of that, that I have a really balanced purpose here. Being a female engineer, chemical engineer, working in packaging development, I was the only woman. There were still very few female chemical engineers in my class. So I was immersed in the masculine and really kind of raised in the masculine form of leadership. Like, this is how you get ahead here. And my story, even I was even given direct feedback. Hey, your soft skills are great, but they'll only get you so far here. So you might want to tone them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I remember that exact phrase, that moment, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, great advice. And then it was like, wait, what are you talking about? It was it was kind of both and, because I knew that my more feminine skills were what actually got me promoted. Like, I knew it was my
Mm-hmm.
intuition and my ability to kind of alchemize information and move projects forward like this. Like, that's how it feels to me, is like I'm alchemizing this thing and we're moving it forward. And I didn't have any of those words then, but I was given direct feedback, like, yeah, just don't do that. Like, go work in the lab, but here's your promotion, but don't do that.
Yeah.
We've riffed on this in various ways because I have a queer identity. I don't know. Do you identify queer or lesbian or either?
Lesbian.
I thought
But
so.
I sort of like all the words,
You're all the letters.
whatever. But I'm a lesbian. Like, I'm a lesbian. Yeah. Like, that's where I identify. And yeah.
Like, that comes up in the journey of sexuality, of
Mhm.
like masculine and feminine energy and
Yep.
polarity and balance and all of that. And the more I've personally worked on myself and really owning the different aspects of my energy through relationship, the more I can see the threads of indoctrination of
Mhm.
this more masculine leadership in our world. I've had times where I've judged my masculine and said, like, oh, just, you should be in flow, you should be more feminine. Like, and then I've had times where I don't know, have I judged my feminine? I think I'm still exploring it, right? And so
Mhm.
I don't have this all figured out. I know you don't have it all figured out, but like, we both have this clear vision of feminine leadership and what that can be and how it starts to change some of the structures to things that are more loving and supportive of our planet and one another. And we know this. And then there's the brand, right? And like the visual expression and how you show up in your business. My belief is, let me take it out of branding for a second and then come back into branding. So, out of branding, to me, if we are rejecting either energy, masculine or feminine, like, we're judging it, we're not healed with mom or dad, we're, think certain things are just not okay for us to be, then if source is giving us guidance that would have us embody some of that energy, we would ignore it. We wouldn't hear it.
Mhm.
So for me, just in my worldview, that's why it's important for everybody to kind of heal that and be open to their natural expression on the continuum and
Mhm.
different expressions for different moments, because source is going to tell you what energy is needed. And then you get to be that. But we're so boxed in that we can't listen. So that's my current, like, deep thoughts around this topic. And I know that this is something that you've worked with in this lifetime and past lifetimes. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the journey of the masculine and feminine is has been an important aspect because it runs through all spiritual traditions. It runs through all the, like, any tradition, anything. But even at our base human level, just our interactions in the world, there's this play of masculine and feminine. I see them as a dynamism of energy. So it's like taking this journey from very strict roles of what each should be and how each should look and how each should behave, to then unlocking those roles. Like, it's like allowing each other to just naturally be who they are. it's to say that women aren't the only ones who have intuition. Okay.
Right.
Men have intuition as well. It just wasn't nurtured in them. It wasn't fostered. That wasn't considered a male activity to have intuition. And for a lot of years it was said, oh, women have that. But then women couldn't be strong. Women couldn't lead. Women couldn't be powerful. And yet here we are. Women are so incredibly powerful. And I felt like for me in a journey is to like feel the power of what it is to be in a female body and be embodied as a woman in this lifetime here. And then to be a lesbian on top of that, right? So I'm falling in love with women. And so it's definitely to me a crash course in healing the feminine energies, the feminine expression on the planet, because we've been kind of kept in the little box for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that the masculine hasn't been too, they've been kept in a different kind of box. And so if we, these energies, like as a woman, I went through this process of playing with those external like ideas of like this is masculine, this is feminine. So I came up very balanced. Like I would always like for a long time, like I would be like even in dress, it would be kind of part masculine, part feminine, part like there was this way in which
Mm.
my energy flowed. Felt like there was a certain point where I was like, oh, the feminine really needs to just reign in me. And
Mm.
that however she looks is feminine.
Mm.
That like I had found this subtle place where the masculine, where that the old school belief of what the masculine should look like and what a woman should look like, right? And at some point, like it's like, no, like this is regardless of what I'm wearing, regardless of what I'm doing, regardless of how I'm showing up in the world, whether I'm a leader, I'm intuitive, I'm powerful, I'm athletic, I'm soft, all of that is the feminine.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be, you know, relegated to some other role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason to me this is so important for business owners and in particular magical business owners, because like we talked about, getting more money in the hands of magical business owners really does change the world. Like we use our money differently and it really shifts things. There's two things that come to mind for me around this conversation. One is structure and flow. So,
Yes.
if I had $1 for every time I've had a conversation around either I just need structure, I just need structure, I just need a structure, I don't just give me a structure. And then, oh, like I just don't want anyone telling me what to do, even myself. I just want to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And like we battle with this. Okay, I want a system that will work and just give me qualified leads all the time. But then, like, oh, that's really boring. Let me go, do something new because that feels creative and fluid and flowy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or source wants it, right? This is why we need to work with both of these things, in my opinion, within ourselves. Like stop acting like you have to have someone else give you a structure, because you and source can create the structure. Doesn't mean you might get training or like learn things from outside of you, but like don't throw your hands up like you can't structure. And
Mm-hmm.
then at the same time, like let go of the structure if source wants you to flow. And it's like both and so we really need
Yes.
to practice these energies to be a leader of the new world. That's present. And then the other piece is when it comes to representing yourself visually, because you help people be seen, there needs to be a match between the visual and the actual human's energetic, right?
Yes.
And then some visuals are curvy and more feminine, some are more structured and more, cueing masculine. Colors, right? Like, one of our clients, Annette, who's an interior designer, helped me choose dark colors for my backdrop. So I have
Mm-hmm.
masculine supporting me so I can practice more of my feminine. Like, it's everywhere. So,
It's
how do you consider that when you're working with people? Or what do you think
um
a magical person needs to know about this?
yeah. See, I love this is why I love to talk about it from in terms of structure and flow
Yeah.
versus masculine and feminine. Because we
Mhm.
can there's because as you saw, I got into a whole journey of like, oh, the masculine and feminine, and this whole thing came out. But when we're talking about structure and flow, that applies to everybody.
Uh-huh. Yes.
It does not exclude anyone. No matter where you're at in the spectrum of this reality, like it applies to everyone. And so when like, I literally like, I am looking for that actually when I'm branding somebody, when I'm designing for them and creating their business brand. It's like, because it's not only just them. So it's like this one part the client has to be seen for who they are and what they represent. But then it's also like, their clients need to be able to see themselves
Yeah.
in this too, right? So it's a reciprocal relationship. It's a two-way street. I don't want to exclude males from anyone unless the client is specifically, I'm only working with women, right? But even when they're just working with women, we still have to do this whole beautiful play of curve and flow and lines. And like, it's like, okay, both of these dynamics are happening all the time in our world. And structure is what helps us create an amazing business. Having the structure of a website to hold it. We can't build a house without structure. We can't have a flowing house in terms of the physicality. We need structure for the house. But inside the house, we can create all kinds of flow and curvy energies. That's what I'm constantly doing is navigating where is the client if they're predominantly flow. So I want to say it's okay to be more feminine. Like if you're feminine dominant in your
Mhm.
energies or like flowy dominant, right? Then I'm looking to see where there's the structure, where there's just enough structure, enough lines to create or color to help support the feminine even more. Yeah, this
Mhm.
conversation can go so deep. So it's
Yes. Well, in a minute, we can talk about if people want to come play in this conversation with us. They'll just see that
yes.
if someone is more naturally in their feminine, then the skill is knowing how to choose who can help bring the structure, right? If
Yes.
you're more in your flow, it's like just let your wisdom choose who can help you bring the structure rather than throwing your hands up.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Like do
definitely
it
you
from
have
a wise, informed place because there's so much help me without it coming from our sovereign knowing.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that's part of the resistance of being in their feminine. So being in that flow, like resist,
Yeah.
it's interesting because it's like the desire to be in the flow and know that you're flowy, but you're resistant to your own flow.
Mm.
And so that creates the discomfort and that creates the place where, oh, I'm not
Yes.
asking for help in structure when I need it.
Right. Because I'm embarrassed of that.
Yeah, or why can't I do that? I mean, there are literally
Yes.
there are people on the planet that are meant to just flow.
Yes.
But that means they need to hire somebody to
Yes.
help
And
with
be
the
in wisdom
structure.
around it.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes. And there are some people that
Exactly.
have the opposite could be true. They have a ton of structure. They have more structure than anybody could ever need. And so they need
Mm.
flow. They need somebody to
Mm.
help them move energy, help them flow their energy. Yeah. So it's like knowing where
Mm.
you're at. And even if you're more balanced in structure and flow, I feel like it's still helpful to have that outer reflection of somebody to help, like, kind of help you hone in.
Oh, I love that. I'm thinking about when I started, and gosh, so many of our clients are like this, but this would have been me. I can't do this until it's perfect. And I
Oh
can't
gosh.
do it until right. And that's that overly structured. And it's like I needed someone to just be like, just fucking do it. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. Right. Like, just do it bad. Do it. Like, just do it. And I'm so grateful for people who helped me to do that. Right.
And I'm
And
grateful that you got that message so deeply that you help others do it.
well, and I'm thinking like this, I just got an aha about the connection with branding too, is that from the strategy of the brand, which I love helping people with, knowing the role you play, like who your people are and the role you play for them, then you can embrace it. So if your role is to help bring structure, amazing. If your role is to help them loosen up, amazing. Stop trying to be
Mhm.
structured, play your role. And if it's some of each, like then see that as a benefit of your brand that you can kind of do both and don't make one better than the other. Just
Exactly.
however whatever your role is that you're playing for people that you're feeling is valuable enough to brand, like just own it.
Yes. And I love that.
Yeah.
Don't make one better than the other. They
Yes.
are both beautiful and both
Okay.
needed.
So we have, I mentioned it. And so Nikko and I are piloting a partnership together that's all about this. So creating your brand, your guidelines for your brand, and an actual website done for you by Nikko, as well as your signature talk with a structure that makes people want to buy what you do. And then the offer that you make from your talk would go right to this beautiful website designed by Nikko. So we're playing together on this, but the
Mhm.
the in-person components are all about the masculine and feminine and embracing that for yourself. So just to seeding that, just PM me. There's no launch, there's no public invites. We're just inviting our people. If you want to be invited, let us know. Nikko, tell people how they can find you for website work or
Awesome.
dreaming work.
Or dreaming work. Yes, I have a dreaming series that I'm working on. Yeah, you can reach me at
I was gonna,
visibilityfrequency.com.
my brain was like, oh, that's not right.
Wait, I think there's a word missing. Yes, at visibilityfrequency.com. And then you can email me at visibilityfrequency@gmail.com. And I will be happy to
Beautiful.
talk with anyone
Awesome. And we'll
where
put
you're at
that
and where
in
you
the
want to
show
go.
notes as well.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nikko. I so appreciate you. This has been so fun. I know we could talk forever. People, let us know. What are you taking away from this? If you've got some value, please share it with a friend who you know is magical or secretly magical. We'd really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.